Hey guys, you're listening to Journey to Truth podcast. If you notice, it might look a little different tonight because I am in Mexico. I'm coming down here for some business slash soul work, I guess. It's truly amazing down here. But tonight we are joined by Lorie Ladd. Many of you may know her by her YouTube or Instagram, primarily as an ascension teacher or a multidimensional channel. She's putting out amazing videos all the time. It's awesome. Sometimes I wake up and I see she has a new video. I click play and it's like exactly what I needed to hear for that day. It's very inspirational, very motivational type of messages she's putting out, channels. So welcome to the show, Lorie. How's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me, you guys. I'm excited to dive in and play. See what comes through. I'm excited.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot to talk about, obviously. I mean, it's never ending right now. Really quick, guys, the Hopewell Farm, we have our 15% off through January 2nd, the CBD oil. That is promo code JTT15, and that gets you 15% off through January 2nd. And then the Omnia patches, the patch you put on your phone, and it basically harmonizes the frequency. The negative frequency turns it into something positive, good for your body. That promo code is truth in all caps, and that gets you 10% off through Christmas. So grab those before the end of the year or before Christmas if you want to save a little money on those. And that being said, let's jump into this because there's a lot to talk about. Lorie, you posted a video just recently about, it was a whole crazy story how it happened, but you received a download saying that we dodged a bullet as far as we shifted into a new timeline, like in the nick of time, basically. And it's a positive timeline, obviously. And I want you to elaborate on that if you don't mind.
Yeah. So it's interesting when we talk about time because everybody was waiting for 2021 for us to jump that timeline, right? Everyone was thinking 2021 was going to be the day that we felt that massive shift. And it was a really powerful day, which was yesterday or the day before, depending upon, well, they're listening to this later, but we actually shifted the timeline kind of the week before. And the reason it's kind of important to talk about time is because when we get attached to a time frame or a time or a date, even as you are preparing for what may come, oh my God, we have to prepare for these things, right? Especially in 2021, because there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be told to us that are going to happen that are not going to happen. Okay. And so if we pay attention to those, this is going to happen, prepare, then we're playing in a timeline that actually doesn't exist anymore. Okay. So we want to be aware of that the human likes to prepare for things. They like to think about what's coming in the future now. And that's an important piece for 2021. So we want to stay as present as possible. This timeline that shifted, I don't know, 14th or 15th, somewhere around there. When my guides gave it to me, all I can tell you is that I've never felt what I felt that moment. So when my guides talk to me, it's energy. And so I absorb the energy in my body as if it's a frequency, and then it turns into a message. It turns into information. So it's not like I hear them talking to me, right? It's more of like I receive something and then it becomes the message is in the energy, the frequency. And so my initial feeling was my whole body started to shake and just get goosebumps, like head to toe. And then the second reaction was bawling. I just started crying massively. And then I received, you guys dodged a bullet. What they meant was the human collective. So all of us that are sort of on the front lines, eyes open, aware of what's happening, trying to educate, trying to remind humans, like, look at this, look at that. We are pulling the entire human collective behind us into these higher timelines. And it can feel sometimes like we're dragging the human collective. But as we are raising the frequency within our bodies, whether we're aware of it or not, we pull the frequency of the collective into a completely new timeline, which allows us new possibilities. And they showed me that, I don't know if you guys have been feeling this sort of like pause, like what's going to happen? What's going to happen? There's kind of like this anticipation of like, so what is going to happen here?
Mm-hmm.
We jumped into a timeline that is now going to be expedited. So there were two real clear timelines that we were staring at. And I'd been talking about. One of them was like a longer route, a slower route, like the Band-Aid would be pulled off real slow. And the other one was a speedier route. So it's going to be insane. It's going to be like, holy cow, but it's going to be like we are accelerating faster. So do you want the Band-Aid to come off fast, ouch, or do you want it to come off slow and be a lot more painful, right? It's still going to be insane. It's still going to be intense, but it's just an expedited sort of process. So that's what we have jumped into. The piece to really remember, and it's a really positive timeline because I'm pausing. Give me a moment.
Thinking.
I'm just joking with you.
It's a positive timeline because what could have happened would have pulled us into experiences that would have kept us in this sort of imprisoned state for longer. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this imprisonment that humanity has been in, we won't go back into it. So that lower timeline would have created experiences where we would have been like, what are we doing? How can we still find ourselves in this experience, in this imprisonment feeling? The new timeline, it's really hard to explain, so that's why I'm taking my time. The new timeline is going to show us what could have been. Okay, I hope this is making sense. It's really hard to explain two timelines, but we've jumped a timeline, so you're still going to see an old timeline play out. Okay, so here's how I want you guys to see this. We're here. This is still going to play out in an illusionary sense until it's dissolved. So when you shift timelines, the other timeline doesn't dissolve right away. There's time-space continuum, which means that it's going to dissolve slowly. So we're here. It's going to go fast. We're going to expedite. We're going to move through all of these. There's not going to be a massive mandate vaccine all around the world, right? There's not going to be as much of a genocide that could have happened from that vaccine or vaccines, right? The things that could have played out here aren't going to play out in the way that they could have because we're here. But we're going to see a narrative down here that's going to try to pull us energetically back down to this lower timeline until we've anchored into this timeline completely and we believe it and see it. Does this make sense?
Actually, it makes perfect sense to me.
Okay. Because we have to recognize that we're here. It's done. It's complete. But because we're in a slower space, there's a continuum that happens. So it's like things take a little bit longer in the 3D. We're still going to watch this stuff down below in this lower timeline. We're still going to watch it play out as if it's real. Mm-hmm. And this is really, 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 really important. You can't believe it. So you can't believe it. It's like they were showing me like a puppet show. We have to see it as a physical thing playing out, but it's not real. It's almost like it's a joke. Like, are you joking right now? Like we're above this.
Yeah, we have to make sure not to buy into their agendas anymore.
Right. And yet continue to educate and continue to pull. You imagine that your job, your roles is to pull humanity, the ones that are buying into this lower timeline, pull them up, right? Like and even the awakened ones, they're still going to feel like they're down here, right? So it's like, we're going to be required to do this a little bit differently now than we did this past year.
What do you think that's going to look like as far as us doing it differently?
We have to pretend like it doesn't, like it's like we're not phased anymore. It's almost like
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not phased anymore.
Yeah, it's like, and you would be an example of, you know, the front line that really pulled humanity up. I'm not saying that you're better than anyone else, right? But when you get to this place of you don't buy into it, you're not phased anymore, and it's go time, like you're just like, get out of my way. Get out of the way. This is where we're going. That is really powerful and potent, because that frequency that you hold, that knowingness of like, get out of my way, it has a ripple effect on an energetic level. And it assists humans up into that level without you actually realizing that that's what you're doing. So you don't even have to say it out loud. There's an energetic exchange that happens, which is why I was bawling in the car, because I was like, holy shit. I don't know if you can cuss on this.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Holy shit. Every single freaking person, everyone that's listening to this, everyone that's been speaking their truth, everybody that has been standing up, every single person. My whole body's getting goosebumps when I'm saying this right now. Their efforts, their light, their voice, their behavior, all of it made a massive impact, and we were able to pull humanity up. And so now our role is to stay there. Our role is to stay focused on that timeline. Our job is to no longer, it's almost like if they're fleas and you're like, dude, you're just an annoying flea. Like, you know, go,
Sure.
you know, that kind of feeling.
It's interesting to me. Were you going to say something, Aaron?
No, I 100% agree with all of that. Yeah, it's basically, it comes down to what we focus on and where we put our energy is what manifests, right? So we're energizing, based on whether we're living in fear or whether we're living in sovereignty and in love, like we're going to energize that timeline. So like you said, the ones of us that are awake, that are living that way, and we're seeing all this play out, and we're absolutely not agreeing with it, but we're not, because then there's the people that get caught up in the fear of it, right? And they're all like, oh my God, and they're all worried and doom and gloom, right? Well, they're actually helping energize that timeline by staying in that state and by focusing and dwelling on it so much and being afraid of it. So that's why it's super important not to do that and not to get tricked, because that's the whole trick, right?
Totally.
It's the trap. It's
totally.
Here's what we want you to be afraid of, and then you're going to be the one to manifest, to help energize that manifest. Yeah.
It's interesting to me being in Mexico here, seeing the difference from the United States to here, just the way they live. I'm not staying on a resort. I'm staying with a friend and his family. I'm living among the locals here. There's no tourist here. No one speaks English, and it's no different to me than going to a different planet. And I'm learning a lot about myself. It's very intimidating. I feel very vulnerable, because when you go out, you can't have a conversation with anybody. What do? Like, how do you communicate? And I'm also seeing like they're like behind the times here, as far as like stuff they're doing now, we did 20 years ago. I mean, the technology they used, when you go into the store, the technology that's available to buy, like, they still sell this stuff, but it's brand new to them. It's very, the ice cream man rides around on a bicycle with a cooler, and I mean, it's crazy. And but it's what my whole point of this is we're raising the collective consciousness, right? In the United States, I see it happening, but when I come here, I don't really notice it, and it's so because it's like being in a different timeline here in another country. Right? You never think about it until you're here living that, and it just makes me wonder how like everyone's going to be affected. So we're in the U.S. Let's say we're going to go to a heightened state of consciousness, but they're going to get to where we are now, in a sense.
And this is why the election is so important. I'm not going to go into the election, okay, but I am going to say a quick thing about it. The reason this election in the United States is so important is because it's literally impacting the entire world. And it's the first time that there is an election in the United States that's having this sort of an impact that we are physically aware of. There's always been an impact with the United States election. We just have never really been aware of just how intertwined it all is, right? So now we're kind of becoming aware of this. And the impact of this election coming up is it has an impact on how the rest of the world is going to navigate the timeline. And so what could have unraveled for Mexico or Spain or Portugal, their timeline has shifted as well. The whole planetary timeline has shifted. It's just a matter of how that culture would have gone down that lower timeline. Mm-hmm. And so based on what's coming in January, the whole planet is going to experience a very different timeline than what could have been. So it's hard to say how they would have experienced it, how they are going to experience it. It's very different, obviously, when you're in a somewhat of a third world country, but it's definitely shifted.
Well, you know what's funny too? I saw a newspaper with Trump on the front page, and I didn't know what it said. I had my friend translate it, and basically they're just talking shit on Trump. Like it's like that's their, they're still getting that negative news here as well. It's interesting. Speaking of, do you think, I know you did a video on this a while back, but do you think Trump is a light worker?
I think that Trump is playing a very, very, very important role for humanity right now. I think that Trump has a personality and an ego, and just like all of us. But I 1000% believe that he is perhaps playing one of the most important roles right now for us in this shift. That's not to say that he's a saint. That's not to say that if he doesn't get elected, we're not going to shift. We're shifting no matter what. We're shifting no matter who gets elected. So it's not, people have this notion that like, if you say this about Trump, that means that you are worshiping him, or you think that he's a god, or that everything depends on Trump. Yeah. No, that's not what this is about. This is about consciousness, higher dimensional consciousness, incarnating into a human body, and incarnating into a human body to play out a specific role. Trump incarnated as a higher dimensional consciousness into that human body that you see him in order to play out a specific role. That's what I believe, and that's what I think he's doing. Do I think we have to worship him? No. Do I think that he's the savior? No. Do I think if he doesn't get elected, we're screwed? No. But do I think that he's playing a massive, important role in this shift in consciousness? 1 bazillion% yes. So, I think there's, when that video went out, there's a lot of ways in which people took it. And, the word Lightworker can be very misconstrued. You think that if somebody's a Lightworker, that means that they have to be love and light all the time. And a Lightworker is somebody that comes into a human body in order to assist in shifting the human collective. And there's a bazillion ways that you can shift a human collective. You don't have to, be sitting in meditation. Think about what Trump's done so far. I think he's shifted a human collective pretty well. Whether we like him or not, he has shifted a human collective. So, people have this notion of like, if you're a light worker, that means that you have to be in, love all the time. And it's like, well, I'm a light worker and I'm not in love all the time. I yell, I argue, I fight, I have ego. I have all the things that Trump has. Does that make me, I've said horrible things to people. Does that make me not a light worker?
No, I agree with you 100% on that. We're down here on Earth during this time in our human bodies to live the human experience, right? We're going through our own lessons. We are here to shift, but at the same time, we're here to work on our own stuff too. And you're not gonna really, you're not doing yourself any good by avoiding all that darkness and just like going and meditating in a cave somewhere for the rest of your life. That's just not how it works. And I mean, yeah, that can work. I'm not saying that anybody's method is wrong, but for me, it's like I'm more of a boots on the ground. I like to be out, be places. Like, who knows what I'm doing here in Mexico? I just happened to be at Chichen Itza on the 1221 portal, the winter solstice. And interestingly enough about that, the air quality here is beautiful. You can breathe, you can feel it's lighter. The energy here is great in Mexico. I went to no chemtrails. There's no such thing as them down here.
Really?
I went to Chichen Itza, and that was directly over the pyramid. It was the first time I saw 3 chemtrails my whole trip, and that's the only time I've seen chemtrails. And I just wonder if that was done intentionally on that day over that site for a reason.
I'm sure.
I don't know.
The energy there was very chaotic. You know, I could feel like it almost was too much. That day was crazy. Too many people there with the chemtrails. I mean, something was going on, but it wasn't relaxed. It didn't feel relaxed there.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know where we were going for that.
Well, it's interesting because, I mean, there's so many pieces that you brought up about that, but okay. So one, with chemtrails, they're always being I don't like when I talk about this, but I'm going to just talk about it. I don't know why I always cringe when I bring this piece up, because it's hard for people to, like, I think, accept, and you don't have to accept it. But I was shown this years ago, maybe 3 years ago, when I lived in Mount Shasta, because they chemtrailed the hell out of that mountain.
Oh, yeah.
I've never, have you been up there, Aaron, and seen it?
The first conference I ever went to was in Mount Shasta.
Yeah. And there's chemtrails.
Also.
Yeah. It's like, there's so many chemtrails. You're like, dude, this is nuts. I mean, it's just like crisscross.
I saw a bunch.
Yeah. So what my guide showed me is that there are higher dimensional light beings that have always been around. I mean, we're higher dimensional light beings. There's nothing spectacular about a higher dimensional light being, but they have been combating or kind of like dismantling on an energetic level the chemtrails for about 3, 4, 5 years, because they've gotten more, I don't want to scare people, but they've gotten real bad, right? Whatever they're spraying is really bad for humanity. Mm-hmm. So they're like, don't worry about the chemtrails. It's not impacting the human any longer. We are dismantling it. And same with the 5G towers. They are, whatever they're doing on an energetic level, it's literally dissolving the frequencies that are coming out or whatever that is. And again, when I share these messages, I'm always like, oh God, these are the messages I don't really like sharing, because it's hard for people to be like, yeah, right, that's really happening. But, it is happening. And, just sometimes, just as hard as it is sometimes to believe that we're being poisoned, we are actually also being sort of helped at the same time. Mm-hmm. So I've never been nervous about the chemtrails after I received that message, or the 5G towers.
Yeah, that's a great point to bring up. I've also been made aware that, like, as we are shifting into this higher timeline and raising our vibration and all that stuff, these chemtrails might be neutralized upon entry. Like when they get to our body, like it's like we are existing in a place, at a vibration where they just won't affect us. That doesn't mean they're not affecting the planet and other stuff, but in general, I mean, if you're doing the work, and I don't know if that's true, but it's an interesting theory.
Well, if you think just about energy and kind of how energy works, if you're vibrating in a higher frequency in your body, this is why, well, I won't go there right now, but if you're vibrating in a higher frequency, those chemicals that are coming in are in a lower frequency. And so your light literally dissolves it. It does nothing to it. It's kind of like, bring it on. What else do you have? Mm-hmm. And the more we understand that, the more we understand who we are as light and like the power of our light, the more we won't be afraid of what's happening externally, chemtrails, 5G, all of that, vaccines, like all these things that we're afraid of right now. We're only afraid of them, one, because we're told to be afraid of it. And two, we're kind of forgetting about the power of our frequency, the power of our light. And that's really another piece of 2021 is starting to remember the power of our light. Like literally the power of our freaking light is crazy. It's really crazy. I mean, you guys, we shifted an entire human collective and we're continuing to just on our light, not on our words, not on our actions, on our light within our bodies. Like that's insane. So yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. When that stuff comes in, your body can just.
And you're talking about the power of our light. I was listening to a channeled message years ago from, I don't even remember who at this point, but they said that the power of your mind, the power of intention is so much more than you guys talking about humans even can comprehend. You just don't understand the power of your thoughts. And they said one of the things you can do with chemtrails is when you see them, put up an imaginary shield, just like you would, like a dome. And as they hit that dome, it transmutes into love or whatever you want it to. And then they said that works because it does. Like it's just the power of our
power
mind.
that we have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, here's the other crazy thing about thought, the power of thought. The power of the human thought. So the human mind is a blessing and a curse because your thoughts can cancel out your light. So what I mean is if you are holding a higher frequency, which we all are holding much higher frequencies every day, but you are still holding limiting beliefs. Okay, so you still believe certain things about yourself, or you believe that you don't deserve, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You're going to your thoughts are so powerful that they're going to pull you into that reality, even though your body is holding a frequency that's like, girl, guy, you can have anything you want. You can create right now. You can manifest and intend whatever you want. You can have abundance. You can have love. Like that's the frequencies that we're holding now. But the thought, just the same way that the thought can kind of dismantle or dissolve the chemtrail, the thoughts can pull you right back to a version of you that you're not even holding physically on an energetic level in your body.
Absolutely. I agree with that. It's it's the power of free will. And what happens is like we play the victim a lot sometimes, even though we try not to. I know personally me, I get caught up into like thinking like playing the victim, whatever. I don't even need to go into an example. And I have to stop myself. I'm like, no, get out of your head. This is a non-issue. Just move on. But that's the thing. When I stop and observe my thoughts, then it's gone.
Yep.
But having the power to do that, I guess, is important.
Yeah, the observer. You're observing. If you can observe, then you can choose.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
So this talking about chemtrails and not affecting you, do you think the same intention can be used for vaccines? If we have to get them, I've talked about this on the other episodes. Do you not want to talk?
Vaccine?
No, I'm laughing because there's so many avenues that the human can see the vaccine as, and each avenue is really important. But the avenue that I'm most comfortable in is that, listen, your light is more powerful than any vaccine. And if you actually hold that knowingness, it's not going to matter what's going into your body. Now, because I live that way, I'm okay. I will never take the vaccine anyways. But if I had to take the vaccine, I would hold the knowingness that my light is transmuting it. The only way that works is if you have 100% knowingness that that's your truth. And to know that you have 100% knowingness, this is kind of like the test, right? If somebody were to ask you what your name is, you would tell them your name. You know your name 100%. There's no doubt. There's no doubt in your mind. I know this. It is true. It is fact. It is. If you can hold that knowingness when someone injects you with the vaccine, that the vaccine is going to do nothing to you because your light will literally dissolve it, then you could take the vaccine and you would be fine. Most humans aren't capable yet of holding that knowingness. They will, but most of them aren't. So I'm not teaching that right now because the vaccine is really dangerous. I think I deeply believe that it can be dangerous. So I want to educate people on that, but I also don't want to create fear, right? So I don't want to create fear in the vaccines, and the vaccines aren't going to play out the way they're supposed to because we jumped timelines. So that's fabulous. But yes, your light can absolutely dissolve the vaccine. Without a doubt, all of the light that your body's holding right now can literally dissolve anything that goes into your body that is created by the man.
Yeah, any foreign object we put into our body isn't compatible. It's not supposed to be. I'm not saying anything, but like liquids, stuff like anything that you have to inject. I
mean, listen, like where we're going in terms of a human collective, like the evolution of our consciousness, the evolution of the human is moving to states of consciousness where we are literally nothing is going to impact us unless we allow it to, period. So we can choose to allow something to impact us. Okay, I think I'm going to believe that this vaccine is going to impact me, or we choose that it's not going to. That's what we're moving into. I mean, unfortunately, we have to go through it in order to realize that we have that ability. Mm-hmm. Right. So like the evolution of human consciousness kind of sucks because you're like, Jesus, why do we have to learn it this way? Like, or remember it this way? Why can't we just jump and be in it?
Because that's part of the process.
Yeah. We have to be like, oh, you're going to inject me with something horrific and I don't want to take it. So I'm either not going to take it or I'm going to start practicing the fact that I have the intention and knowingness that my light can dissolve it. Or I'm just not going to play in the fear of it. I'm going to take it and I'm going to be completely fine. We have that ability as well, right? Like we have that ability. It's just like, holy shit, this is what we have to I think a lot of people, especially in the spiritual community, I think we thought that like we were just going to kind of jump into these higher states and just be chill and like life was going to be awesome. We were just going to be like, yeah, like, oh my God, we made it. And like, woo, and now we're like, oh,
this is how it plays out. Yeah. Oh, shit.
Oh, this is what we're doing. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it happened for me. You're so excited. You're discovering all this new information, this new way of life. There's other people out there like you. Seems all exciting and fun. Yes. And then the dark night of the soul comes or whatever happens in your world and you're faced with some of the toughest times you've ever been through. But the other side of that is beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, there's, I think the process of ascending, the process of moving through this shift in consciousness, this evolution, it is, we are going to look back at this time. And when I say look back, maybe, let's give it about 5 years, right? But we're going to look back at, and that's not to scare people, but I'm just, giving us some space, but we're going to look back at this and we're going to be like, oh my God, we freaking nailed it. Like we nailed it. We were amazing. Look at what we did, but we can't see it right now because we're in it. So a lot of us, or especially myself, it's just sort of like, you're like, oh my God, what's next? What's next? What's next? Like what's next in an excitement, but also there's a personal shift that's happening, right? For each person, there's a collective shift that's happening for the human collective. So there's a lot going on that we don't really realize. I don't think we really realize what's happening here. And that individual kind of shift that's happening can feel, like that up and down that you're doing this, all kinds of stuff that happens to us when we clear out our shadow and we do all that work and healing and trauma and, cutting cords and, while you're also watching the entire human collective shift and all this crap come out from the woodworks, like the Wizard of Oz, and you're like, holy cow, like what the freak have we been living in? You're pulling yourself out of this like like mind controlled place, and then you're trying to pull humans out of the mind control. The whole thing is it's insane.
Yeah.
Well, we're living through the greatest historical event ever on this planet.
That's why you're here. That's why you
be,
came in.
It's going to be insane. Yeah. And honestly, it's not even as bad as we think it is. This trip has been crazy. I was on a walk one morning, and this old man basically came out of the woods. He's 85 years old, and he's like, "Let me tell you something." And he starts telling me about how the whole world is corrupt and the Democrats are evil and blah, blah, blah. And God, what were we? I just lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
Oh, how this is the most insane time of the human history. This is like the most insane.
Yeah, so that was my point. So he came out and he's a World War II vet. And he started telling me, he's like, he goes, this is the worst the planet's ever been through, but it's not, because look at you right now. He goes, this was not the way we were living back then. He goes, things were tough on the streets. Life was different. He goes, we still have it good in so many ways now that we don't even realize it. Like, it might seem horrible, but if you could be alive back then, you wish you were alive right now, is what he was saying. And it was a good perspective. It was a really good perspective to put in.
I mean,
you didn't know, a lot of people didn't know where their next meal was coming from, that type of stuff.
Yeah, there were a lot of things that, I mean, listen, the human collective is ready now to take on what's coming, right? If we didn't have the technology, if we didn't have social media, if we didn't have YouTube, if we wouldn't have been able to wake up as quickly as we did. So it's all such a divine time that it happened, because we had the access and the ability to wake up so much faster than had it been 1940. It wouldn't have happened then.
Yeah. When all your, you think about it, like the internet is pretty new. Like before that, the only avenues you could get information were basically the mainstream media
or an encyclopedia.
Yeah, which is it's all mainstream controlled stuff, right? So like to get the truth of things, it was almost like you just had to get it word of mouth, and then hope you're getting the truth, and little things like that. But now we have we've been blessed with this massive tool of the internet, which is funny because it was basically created by the controllers, and now we're like using it against them and using it for the awakening. And it's such a beautiful thing, because it was a beautiful example of how we can use everything for our awakening, no matter what the intent originally was for it. Like it can be intended to be used to control us or used against us, and we're like, all right, we're going to take that and use it.
Like you said before, Aaron, everything is your teacher if you allow it to be.
And everything is your teacher. Everything is for your growth. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you think about everything that has been created just in 2020, just in this year, all the ways in which situations have come in order to sort of pull us down or to silence us. And it's done the opposite, right? So it's like anything that's coming at us that is designed to sort of continue to keep us in that sedated state is only perpetuating this massive grand awakening. It's the most beautiful thing ever.
Yeah. Well, Aaron, like you said, we have the information of the planet at our fingertips. Not all the real information, but we have information at our fingertips now, and we can educate ourselves.
And we can communicate in like that at any time.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is you have a choice now. You can use this to educate yourself, or you can use it to entertain yourself and just drool while you're mindlessly scrolling through Instagram.
It's just a tool.
Yeah, exactly. It depends on what you decide. Are you going to take this information now and grow, or are you going to just entertain yourself? during the
You know,
process.
what's interesting about what you're saying also is that we've been programmed, many of us, we've been programmed to sort of receive knowledge or truth, let's say through the television or through specific news outlets. It's a programmed state, right? So what's happened in 2020, at least for myself, is we are getting sort of our news from sources that many would say are not credible, right? Like, well, that's not a credible source.
Yeah.
Or, well, where's their credible whatever the hell, right? And it's like, none of that matters anymore when you start to detach from the programmed ways in which we've been built to be in.
It's like, well, what makes those institutions credible other than they say they are? That's all
Right.
it is. It's like, we're the authority, we're credible. And it's like,
Yeah.
when you do your research, you realize it's the exact opposite. Like, they lie constantly, they manipulate the truth, they try to tell you what to think, and usually it's the exact opposite of the truth. And they're the ones constantly pushing, we're the authority. Oh, those are all, that's fake news. That's all bullshit. And you look into like what they're saying. It's almost like whatever they say, you can almost reverse it, and that's usually the truth.
Totally.
It's almost like a rule of thumb. It works. I've done it so much. I'm like, oh yeah, that's the exact opposite. What they're saying is the truth.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah, exactly.
What does that tell you about, the people running things?
I remember right in the beginning when COVID was beginning, and my whole kind of world was shattered with this whole Trump thing, and all these things were starting to come out. And I was like, oh my God, are you joking? And I remember getting a lot of my news, no joke. I got a lot of my information from TikTok. And my mom's like, well, where? I swear.
Nice.
Like, all this information was coming, and it was like this TikTok, these people were sharing these powerful truths on TikTok. And my mom would be like, well, where are you getting this information? I'm like, this TikTok and this TikTok.
TikTok.
Yeah. But it was real information, because then I would go and look at a YouTube channel, or I'd go and look at that person's whatever, and then it would take me down, how we were, the information highway.
Mm-hmm.
But I just found it fascinating that this was the way in which information was being given to us, or the way that we were receiving information, different from how we are programmed with that, the news, the media, the whatever we're supposed to be doing, gathering our information, the New York Times, whatever, the newspapers.
What you start to realize is that they're really good. They know human psychology. They know what they're doing. They've been doing it a long time. So they know, like, this is how the system works. So like, they know exactly what to say to get people to stay stuck in that mind control and to get all riled up about whatever, and, that's why there's the whole left and right paradigm. So you can program this side in this way, program this side this way, and then get them to fight each other, and then get them to be like, so like amped up in their beliefs, and never see like the puppet master behind, the curtain. And that's the mainstream media and everything else.
Yeah, exactly. Never see
when you finally step out of that, you can actually like look at it rather than being caught up in it. But that's the thing, more and more people are awakening now and stepping outside of that thing. I'm like, well, I want to find my information for myself, because now we have the internet and it's really easy to do. But that's why they had to do all this censorship. They had to ramp that up so much, because they realized too many people are doing that.
They're like,
oh crap, we got to shut this down. This is destroying everything. So, but once you do, you realize you've been living in this programmed matrix. Your thoughts weren't your own. Your beliefs weren't your own.
It's crazy.
And that's why they're kind of like freaking out right now. And everything's becoming so obvious to us, to the awakened ones, because we're like seeing like, oh, this is what they're doing now. This is crazy. But
something else I want to bring up as far as what's going on right now is the energetic battle, the spiritual war that's taking
place
right now.
Ultimately, the spiritual war, yes.
And so I know there's a lot of dark entities at play right now, especially like I heard these, like going to these protests is like a honeypot for these dark entities. They're just waiting for people to show up so they can attach to them while they're vulnerable or whatever. They want everybody's emotions and they just want everybody's energy to be chaotic so they can come in and infiltrate.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on all that, and what can we do to prevent from that happening? Or if we do have something attached, is there something we can do?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really played in that until recently because I had dark energies coming into my field trying to screw things up. And it's real. It's really real. It's an energetic battle, and it's kind of like, holy shit, this is actually an energetic battle. And when you start to realize that, and you start to see and understand it as from an energetic perspective, that's the most powerful place you can come in every now moment, because your energy, your light is more powerful than anything. And your light and your free will and your choice creates everything. So if you go to a protest and you're holding light and you're holding love and you're holding compassion and you're holding those high frequencies, nothing's coming in. Nothing's getting near you. You'll feel it right away. You'll feel it. If you're going to the protests and you are combative and angry and yelling and in that energy and frequency, then you're susceptible to allowing that same frequency energy, the fear and the chaos and that to kind of come in and be absorbed by you. Then all of a sudden you're holding these energies that aren't really yours, and it's perpetuating that puppetry that we're trying to escape out of. And so really going into 2021, I cannot preface enough, because there's going to be a massive civil war that's perhaps going to break out. And that's actually, that civil war that may happen is the higher timeline. So we have got to be able to hold, and that's a positive timeline, by the way, right? So it's not a bad thing. It's a really good, this is why when we think about good and bad, the high timeline, the positive timeline, doesn't mean there's nothing bad that we're going to experience. It means that it's going to be better than what it could have been in that sense. But it's extremely, extremely, extremely important that in every now moment, in everything you're doing, you remember that this is an energetic experience. This is about energy. And if you hold yourself in high frequency energy as much as possible, in higher states of consciousness as much as you possibly can, with compassion, meaning you get angry, that's okay, but bring yourself back. If you get frustrated, that's okay, bring yourself back. Anxiety, that's okay, bring yourself back. The higher you can stay in these higher states with your energy and your body that you've prepared yourself for this past year, you'll be able to rock through 2021. You'll be able to nail it. We'll be able to push through anything that's going to be coming down the chute. We'll be able to feel more love for humanity, more empathy for humanity, more compassion. We won't be in a divide. We'll stop doing the divide. You see, when we first went through 2020, we got caught up in the divide. A lot of us got caught up in the divide in the beginning. And all of a sudden we're like, why are we in this? It's just like Aaron said, right? They know how to do this. 2021, we got to step out of that divide. We can't play in the divide anymore. We don't have time. So we have to be above the divide, right? So there's going to be layers of this awakening, but we have to be above the divide, and you've got to hold yourself in these higher states, because the energies that are sort of darker, they're tricksters. They're tricky. They come in and you're like, they're like narcissistic, gaslighting type of energies, where all of a sudden you think there's something wrong with you and you did something wrong. And then you all of a sudden you're the victim. You play the victim role. If you find yourself playing the victim role, check yourself, move into your body, breathe. If you find yourself feeling fearful or scared or worried or any of that, bring yourself back into your body, breathe. And then you just choose. You just say out loud, whatever energy this is that doesn't feel like my light, get the hell away. Get out, get gone, be gone, be gone. We have that ability. And just like that, it'll be gone. So that's important.
Thank you for sharing that, because I've experienced that. They're tricksters. That's the best way to put it.
So tricky.
And they deceive you. And also, spiritual people are the easiest to deceive. They're the easiest to trick, because so many people are so excited. They're looking for that experience. So when something does happen, they give their power away to it without questioning, is it good for them or not? And that happens a lot. And even when you think that you are like impenetrable, they're tricky. They'll find a weakness, a chink in your armor. They'll figure it out. So but sometimes whatever that happens might be exactly what you needed to happen, because, well, for me, it was like an aha moment. I learned something about myself that I just wasn't seeing before. And it's like, maybe they were trying to show me with all these synchronicities, and like, all right, let's send in the big guns. They send this dark entity to just freaking make me hit rock bottom. And then I'm like, oh, okay, now I get it, So
and it's preparing us for what's coming. So this isn't an easy battle, so to speak, right? So we've just begun. We win, meaning that when I say win, I don't mean we win, like we get to the end result, right, of this kind of heaven on earth at some other now moment. I don't know how many years, but we get there. So it's not a matter of like, oh my God, I hope this works. But what's coming, whatever we're learning right now, whatever we're experiencing, whatever's coming at us, right? Just like Aaron says, it's a lesson. It's teaching us. And really, it's preparing us to be able to stand even firmer, even more aligned, even more sovereign in our now moments as we continue down that sort of battlefield, right? We have to continue to get more and more sovereign, more and more free, more and more aligned, more and more in our knowingness that we have free will and we have choice and we create our realities, because what's coming is way more intense than what we just went through this past year. So, and not in a bad way or a scary way, it's just gonna be more. So those entities that are coming, they're preparing you for perhaps an even larger entity where you're going to be like, dude, peace out. Like, see you later. Right. And you're just going to keep going.
Mm-hmm. As I don't know why this just hit me while you were saying that. I was thinking about the dark entities, and then the Chichen Itza, the pyramid, and all the blood that was spilled there, and all the sacrifices and the murders, whatever happened there. We don't actually know. I mean, history tells us one thing, but there was a lot of bloodshed there, and I feel like maybe that's why the energy there was felt off. I think that site needs some healing. I think some work needs to be done to these sites all around the world to clear the grid, because these pyramids are built on the global mound matrix, they call it. It's all the ley lines, and they do it specifically because they know that they're spilling blood into that ley line, and it affects the whole concept.
They want that dark energy going into
they want that dark energy. So
grid. Yeah,
I know there's people all over the world doing this work, clearing these, but I feel like that site in particular might need some help, and there might be some entities still around that area. I don't know. That's what hit me out of nowhere while you were telling that.
You're right. So these sites, these power spots, there's thousands of them all over the earth plane, and many that we don't know of. And they were originally designed by higher dimensional light beings and humans thousands of years ago for a time that we're going through right now. So 7,000 years ago, humanity was at a place that we are at right now, where they were about to really take that next leap up into the higher realms. And these light beings came in and assisted humanity. And all of these sites were created, Machu Picchu, the pyramids, all of these the site that you were at, they were all created to assist the human in elevating their consciousness. And at the exact same time, lower dimensional consciousnesses, meaning lower than those higher dimensional light beings, came in as well. And they sort of infiltrated and played in this collective field with us. And civilizations were destroyed, like large civilizations were destroyed at that time, civilizations that were increasing their frequency. Now that I'm speaking about it, it's quite scary, because it's very close to timelines that we're going down right now. We're not going down those timelines. We're actually, we were jumping them, thank God.
Sure.
But that's that sort of large collectives of humans that are raising their frequencies were killed. And so those bloodlines you're talking about is literally what we're clearing right now, right?
Yeah, and this is our opportunity to not let history repeat itself for
Exactly.
once.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And so when we go back to the subject of like, it's an energetic battle, it's always been an energetic battle. So higher dimensional light beings, when they came in and they saw what was happening with these other consciousnesses, it became an energetic battle. And the higher dimensional light beings were like, we're out. We're not battling. We're going to let humanity roll this thing out. And so thousands of years later, here we are, and we're doing it. And it's miraculous what we're doing. It's we're literally battling it out with these beings or these consciousnesses that are also in the human body, and we're nailing it. We're doing a freaking badass job. We're doing an amazing job. It's like we're like freaking rock stars. It's just crazy it's really insane it's just insane, and it's such a beautiful way. But back to the pyramid. You were picking up on the energies of that consciousness of what happened, and many of those are being cleared as we speak. But
yeah, who knows? And in that particular day, there may have been something very incredible going on there that I wasn't aware of, and that I'm sure that civilization was. There's a lot of people who think that the Mayan calendar was wrong, and instead of 2012, it was supposed to be this year on the 21st. If that theory is correct, who knows if the significance of that day at that site, why there was chemtrails, why I was feeling that energy. Either way, I'm glad I was there.
Yeah, I mean, not to say what you're here to do on the earth plane, but the fact that you felt the darker energies there, I mean, the fact that you were called to that space, that you were called to Mexico. I mean, I don't know, maybe there's a piece of you that's here to sort of, I don't know, clear stuff for the planet.
I set the intention before I went there to be open to any activations or downloads that were there. I was trying, or vice versa, whatever. I set the intention for anything, to allow anything to come through. Maybe that's why when you were talking, that just came to me. I don't know. It's interesting, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have an expectation of what a download looks like or what a download is supposed to be like. And sometimes a download is, dude, the energy here sucks. What is this all about? And then it's not until a couple of days later, or sometimes even weeks later, where it becomes obvious that maybe part of your role or part of what you're here to do is to tap into that and then figure out what you're supposed to do with that. Like, could you 6 months down the road, let's just say, right, you're in some other spot and you're feeling that same dark energy, right? And all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm going to start to clear this for humanity. And then you do whatever the heck you just intuitively kind of do, light your body up, feel the light all around the spot. And then boom, you're doing work for humanity. Yeah. So it starts at like in a moment where it's like, what is this download that I'm getting that I don't know is a download? So who knows?
Exactly. I do know that there is a bright future, and I know one of the exciting things about all this is, our old reality falls away. The old system is falling, and this is like a symptom of what we're going through is like a symptom of that. But we're all being drawn towards our soul family. Everybody is being drawn to all the people that they need in their life, and it's like you have a team now. And we don't even understand how we're working together in the astral plane sometimes. And it's amazing to think about the army we are creating right now.
It's amazing. I mean, I've met so many amazing people. I'm just like, oh my God, this is the best time to be alive. Like, there's so many humans that I'm meeting where I'm like, oh my God, I love you. 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 I love you so much. I love you. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's
totally.
like, you're just like, holy shit, where have you been my whole life? And we're all around the globe gathering. And when you meet them, you're like, oh, you're one of me, right? You're like, you're on the field with me. We're like doing this together. It's like, I just love it so much.
I just got chills. You're right. It's like, yeah, you're meeting another part of you. It's really weird.
It's soul family.
soul
For
family.
It really
sure.
is. It's really what it feels like. Yeah.
Some of these people we're meeting, we don't know what past lives we've had with them or anything as far as that goes. You know, it's really interesting.
And there's an energetic knowingness, right? It's like the three of us are sitting here and it's like, we're doing it. Yeah. You know, you're like, I gotcha. You just have this knowingness about the other person. Because you're on the same wavelength, you're on the same frequency, you're doing the same work, you're seeing through the same lens. It's
Yeah, there's no weirdness of like, oh, if I talk about this, you're gonna be like, I don't know about that. You know, it's like we could just talk about anything. And
yeah,
we're all,
I can bring up the Arcturians, the Pleiadians, the Syrians. I can bring up any race that I can think of, and you're going to be like, "Oh yeah, totally." You know, you're going to know all about them, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the person doesn't have to look spiritual, right? That's what I'm loving more and more. It's like, oh no, it's just like normal Joe schmoes, and you're like, it's
there's
just
no like front of like, oh, I'm this
right.
Yeah, all that spiritual ego stuff.
Yep.
That happened to me in a crystal shop not that long ago. I started talking about moldavite coming from like a UFO crash, an ancient UFO crash, and the moldavite was created. It's like the glass that was created like when a meteorite hits, except this was like an energetic UFO craft that created this moldavite. It's a type of tektite. Anyway, we had a whole conversation about the Pleiadians with this random girl. All it took was that one buzzword, and she just knew. She's like, "I love the Pleiadians." Like, it was really weird. I'm like, I can't believe I'm having this conversation with a random person. Right. If that's a sign, if that's not a sign to show where we're going, you know, what is?
Exactly. It's going to be, it's really, really, it's exciting because it's actually happening. I mean, literally every day I'm like, oh God, it's actually, I kind of am like pinching myself because it's like, wow, it's really happening. It's really happening. We're really doing this. We're really doing this. You know, and that's why it's so important that I just feel like in all my messages, it's like, I want the human to know that they're making a difference. Like you're literally making a difference. Because it's energy and it's an energetic sort of war, right? It's really, and what we see physically is not actually what's happening, right? So it's hard to remember or recognize or know that your light and your beingness is actually dismantling the insanity that you're seeing right now unravel. It's really difficult. That's why it's so important, I think, to constantly tell the human, no, you got this. I promise, just keep going. I promise, just keep going. I promise, just keep going. Because that illusion of that puppet master type stuff that's happening, it's hard to be like, are you sure we've got this? Like, you sure we got this? Like, no, we do.
Yeah, exactly. Like you find out that we're getting a $600 stimulus check, and like, okay, what exactly are patriots in control of again?
Oh, you guys, do you want to know what I found out today?
What? Yes.
This is insane. Tell me if you know anything about this. Do you know that okay, so I got an email that gave me like the breakdown of all the billionaires and how much money they made over the last 10 months.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Do you know that now? I don't know if this is true. I don't know where they got their sources from, but what I saw on the document was that Elon Musk was the second highest increased billionaire. So it was Bezos. He was first, and then Elon Musk. And Elon Musk's increased his income or his whatever, the wealth.
Net worth.
His net worth 480%. He gained $180 billion. Something like that, right? Don't mark that. Now, here's what I want to ask you guys. What the fuck does he do where that would make any sense?
Exactly.
No, seriously. What is the Tesla man doing right now during COVID that he would increase his net worth over 400%?
He is, I mean, there's so many theories about him. He's a very mysterious public figure. Is he of the light? Is he of the dark? A lot of people say he's been compromised, and he's being used also. And if that's the case, then they're going to pay him big to play out their agenda, right? They want him to be the one to initiate it, basically. So they're going to give him the money he needs, maybe.
It's an interesting thing to start thinking about.
Yeah.
Because what is he doing?
Well,
yeah,
I've heard that.
exactly.
I've heard that the Tesla company. Well, we don't know what's actually. SpaceX might have. SpaceX, the rockets that we see go up might be a cover, just like NASA. They might have a SpaceX division, secret space program we don't even know about, right? Tesla, we've heard from channeled messages and other stuff. They're working on a lot of other stuff besides their electric car. Not a lot of it hasn't been approved for humanity yet.
It's actually free energy based.
Stuff. So what we see on the surface is just what we see on the surface. There's a lot more going on. We can only speculate, right?
Yeah. I have the same thing with Elon. I'm like, if I were to really settle into the intuitiveness, and I'm always okay with being wrong. I'm always okay with any other truth being the truth. So I never hold anything absolute. But like when I look at him and when I watch Elon, he doesn't seem human to me. He doesn't seem, he seems frighteningly robotic.
I was just going to say that.
Soulless, kind of.
Soulless, and like he's an absolute clone or robot. Like I've never seen anybody more robotic than that man.
He's very robotic.
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, I definitely think somebody said that one time, he's supposed to be the smartest person on the planet, but he's the dumbest person because he doesn't have any wisdom. Because you can know so much, but when you don't have any wisdom to back up that knowledge, then it's just knowledge, right? And you use it for the wrong reasons, basically.
Right.
Yeah, I think he's just like a puppet, basically. And but it's interesting because he said some things that are like he's warned about AI, and he's said some things that go against the controllers and the cabal, whatever. But then he's also said and done things that are in line with that. So he's very like, it's this weird, like, you're like, you don't know what to believe about him because he's
right.
They probably
both sides.
They probably want us guessing, honestly.
That's probably, you're right. I mean, there's probably a reason for that.
Yeah.
I mean, he did stand up to like moving out of California and taking his plants elsewhere. And I remember thinking that, and I was like, well, that's strange. Like, I just found it interesting that his growth went up more than any other billionaire in the United States, and I there's something there.
Well, he's a key player right now, whatever's happening for whatever side. He's a key player, and that's why.
Yeah, whatever they're building, designing, doing, whether it's light or dark, it's massive. And again, this is why it's so important going into 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, that we recognize that no matter what is designed and built and created, that that our light is more potent and more powerful. And we're probably not even going to see that timeline anyway. So there's definitely not going to be an AI timeline. That's for damn sure.
No, there's not.
Yeah, that's been dissolved. So there's a lot of time. That's why it's important also. And this is like going back to the very beginning of our conversation. It's really important to stay present because the present is where the power is. Present is where the power is. So if you start playing and like, do I need to stock up for food and water and prepare for all these things? Well, if you want to play in that timeline, go for it. Otherwise, can you stay present? Because right now, all's well. And we have to keep doing that. And we have to understand the power of that because that's what's going to keep us pulled and moving in that trajectory of that higher timeline. It's really, the present moment is so powerful. So powerful.
The only place you can create is from the present. So that's the whole trick, is to keep people worried about the future, upset about the past.
Yeah. That's
and never creating in the present what they want to actually create.
That's where retirement comes in. The big retirement plan, that is people worrying about the future. And and it keeps people working a 40-hour job. And what does that do? It takes away their ambition to do anything in life that they want to do because they're working for that retirement. And that's a trap. I mean, once you break free from that, your life will blossom. I mean, opportunities will come your way. It happened for me. I was stuck in that job for 15 years and I quit. And it's like all these opportunities were just sitting there waiting for me to make that decision. And then here they come. And now I'm in Mexico doing something I never thought I would be doing. And it's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait till you see what's next and what's next and what's next.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up because I have some palm trees to go look at. No.
Gotta go lay in a hammock again.
Some coconuts to go drink.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, is there any way you wanted to let people know where they can find you and what you have coming up?
I have nothing coming up except whatever's coming up next in the now moment that we're going to navigate. But you can find me at Lorie Ladd on YouTube, LORIELADD. And then Instagram is Lorie Ladd, Lorie_Ladd. Yeah, those are the two main hubs to go and hang out at right now.
Yeah. And guys, make sure you go subscribe and follow her because I'm not joking. Her messages are very potent and they're always exactly what I need to hear. Maybe it's just me. I don't know.
Very powerful. Yeah. Keep the work you're doing is so amazing. Keep doing it. Seriously.
And ditto for you guys for just continuing charging forward no matter what. And it's I think getting information and voices out there right now is one of the most important parts of this awakening. So thanks for doing it and thanks for continuing to show up no matter what you have to go through.
Of course. There's no other option, right?
Thank you.
No other option. When you're in it, you're like,
Exactly. Just this conversation alone is helping me right now because this trip has been, I haven't been talking to anybody. No one speaks I'm in a part where no one speaks English. It's very vulnerable. It's very intimidating. So now just having this high vibe conversation is just like, it's like a
energizing
reset.
You.
Yeah. It's like an energize. It's like resetting me for the second half of my trip. So these conversations in general are important.
Can I quickly ask you something? This is just a personal conversation right now, but how long are you there for?
I come home on Saturday.
So, just like what I'm receiving in terms of like this information that was just thrown down to me is, that so I don't know your life. I don't know what you've been doing. I don't know you at all, but whatever you just stepped into is the beginning of a path that is going to continue. So like, it feels like, I don't know why I'm telling you this right now, because I never do this on podcasts, but, it feels like they're showing me a picture of you going back to either that pyramid or like another one. And they're also showing me at nighttime. And they're telling me that there's training that your body needs, or there's training that that you're supposed to be doing. So there's like something needs to be trained in you. I don't even know if you have the like guts to go back and hang out at night, or even if you can. But there's something bigger than this in terms of training you.
Interestingly enough, they shut the site down at 4:30 p.m. So you can't even be there at night, which is ridiculous. I think it's going to be one of the coolest things. And what I'm down here doing, I will definitely be back. This is the first of many trips coming up. So I can see me visiting, and I plan on even visiting other sites this trip, even tomorrow. So.
Okay, so when you go to another site, are you going to another site?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you go to another site, can you play with this? And I don't even know if you're already doing this, but can you find a quiet space? I don't even know if they'll allow you to do this, but find a quiet space and sit on the ground, and then close your eyes and bring in your team, your family of light, your guides, because you have a lot of galactic guides around you that you work with. that work with you, and just be in that space, be in that energy, be in that field. Just tell them that you're ready. Just say, I'm ready. I'm ready. Show me what I need to know. Give me what I need to know. Yeah, just play with that. See if that resonates and see if you want to even try that.
It does resonate, and it lines up with something someone else told me that was going to happen on this trip also, which I didn't know, but now you gave it a little more clarity. So I think, yeah, it's a no-brainer, of course.
Yeah. There's a lot of galactic Arcturian almost energy around you.
Oh my God, the Arcturians lately, Aaron and I both have just
been talking about it.
I mean, you're just showing up everywhere. We're actually getting ready to put a piece of Arcturian technology symbol on one of our shirts.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, because I kept seeing the Arcturians all around you, and I'm like, okay, I'll tell them it's Arcturian. Yeah, they're all around you, and they're very easy to tap into. And at nighttime, it's easier. I don't know why they're telling me that to you, but at nighttime, it'll be easier for you to tap into, both of you. And they're very easy to hear right now also. So, they're very ready and very excited. They're very excited. The Arcturians are so fun. They're very excited to work with you guys. So, yeah.
All right. Well, let's get this. Let's end this thing so I can get outside and start with the Arcturians. No, thank you. Thank you so much for doing this. I think this was amazing.
Yes.
We covered.
Thank you, guys.
We covered everything important. Guys, don't forget that our promo code for the t-shirts, 20% off with promo code Sleepy Joe. All the promo codes will be in the
Sleepy Joe.
All the promo codes are in the description below, and we have a new website available. So look at her cracking up.
I love it.
Our website is finally launched. The website will be in the description also. You can find everything there that we're doing. Also, we are going to be setting up our Experiences Lounge at the Cocoa Beach, the Starseed Adventures Conference in Cocoa Beach, Florida in March. Do you know the dates, Aaron, for that?
6th through the 11th.
March 6th through the 11th. We are super excited about that. There's a lot of great speakers. Tickets are available. We'll put that link below also, and we'll get into some more of that conference as it gets closer. But yeah, anyway, thank you so much, Lorie. Thank you.
Thank you. You're amazing.
Yeah.
So fun. Thank you. Thank you for all your work.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody who's listening and who's been supporting us and following us. It's sad watching YouTube just unsubscribe people every day. You know, it's just constantly whatever. Everybody's going through it. We're not playing the victim here, but
not just us. Yeah,
the support matters, and it helps, and we appreciate it. So thank you. And I guess that being said, good night, and we will see you next week for our 100th episode.